All right, we all good?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. We're already going.
I was
All
about
right,
to
yeah.
say, no, I made an executive decision. I have a new microphone stand. This is really
I
nice.
saw it. It looks
Ooh,
Oh my
nice.
god.
nice.
Yeah, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. I can rotate it. It doesn't get mad at me. This is great. This is
Intriguing.
fantastic.
Better living through technology.
I was
So
about to say, yeah.
this is a bonus episode that I've written. We're going to be recording it sort of a month in advance. It's going to be about the Bodyline tour. But it's also going to be the first bonus episode since Beer that I've recorded with a significantly elevated blood alcohol content.
Oh,
So I
man.
apologize in advance. Yeah, I got invited to a wine bar and I didn't want to be rude. So at time of recording, I have had quite a lot of wine, and that's going to handicap my ability to explain the greatest sport on the face of the earth to you two.
It,
But I,
it's okay. I've also had a higher blood alcohol content than normal on account of just drinking all day for no reason.
this is a very
Ah,
alcoholic
shit. Crap.
podcast in a lot of
Ah,
ways.
Milkshake is being affectionate.
That motherfucker bit my beard.
Ow.
Yeah.
That
All right.
sounds like it really
It,
sucks.
to
That's what
Yeah.
he
be
does. That's what he likes
he
to
is
do.
he's lucky he's so handsome.
He's
Mm,
vicious. He is a vicious
He
cat.
is very lucky he's so handsome.
So this is going to be a very sort of like loosely structured episode.
This is an Alice one, boys and girls.
That's right.
And non-binary pals.
You gave us your money. You gave us $2
I
a
was about
month
to
for
say
this.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing because I can't see the screen right now because Milkshake has his
You are
butt
so
in my
goddamn.
face.
Why are you like this? You have to. You have to. Yes, that's how cats say hi. Hi,
Yeah.
here is my asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Milkshake.
Do you guys not introduce yourselves with your assholes? Have I been
Not
doing it
typical.
wrong
I
this whole
mean,
time?
for the right woman, maybe, but like,
To be fair, I've seen your Tumblr presence, and
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's I had to pick like one social media site that I was gonna have a little bit more of a sort of risque presence for, and Tumblr was it. So yeah, uh, but you see before you a game of cricket,
Yes.
and I've sort of cursed myself. Next slide, please,
Hold
because
on. I'm trying to find this.
yeah, that's what the
Yes.
button is. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So I've cursed myself because I have sort of set myself up to try and explain
Wow.
to two Americans what cricket is and how it works. So
I believe that if you
I
are
used to
American
know
and you
this.
learn how cricket works, they put you in a black van and take you away.
yeah, they're gonna get
I
you for this.
I used to know. Excuse me.
I used to know.
I used to
Hey,
know.
hey, so you guys aren't the only ones capable of drinking on the pod.
100% not good to drive right for recording this. Good.
Yes.
No, no, not at all. Really, it would be bad.
I had a really nice Sangiovese, and then I had like 2 glasses of dessert wine. I shouldn't have done that. I feel bad about it. I well, especially shouldn't have done it before work. But yeah, so cricket is trying to explain this in American context. It's narrow baseball.
What? Well, where's all the other fielders?
Oh, there are fielders. You can't see them in this image.
Are they just out of frame? Okay.
Yeah. There's a whole sort of like round pitch, and then
they're all out of frame, laughing with me too.
That's right. There's a whole round field, and then there's this rectangular pitch in the middle of it.
I'm looking. Okay.
So instead of one guy batting who gets to go around 4 bases, there are 2 people batting who get to go back and forth, right?
Right.
And there are a few other wrinkles that make it more strategic than that, but in general,
is it a legitimate strategy of cricket just to simply throw at your guy's head like a lot?
This is what we're going to be talking about. This is the theme of the episode. Is the one time that we tried to do that. Now it isn't in terms of like this is a bit of a spoiler, but it's against the laws of cricket, which is a sort of grandiose way of saying the rules of cricket, to do sort of like what's called oppositional bowling.
Is this like ungentlemanly warfare?
Yeah, but if you remember the Simpsons joke about because of me, there's a warning. This is why there's a rule. that you can't do oppositional
terrific.
bowling.
I always love when we find out the reasons you can't do shit.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
The safety rule book is written in blood.
Yeah.
Genuinely true. There will be some bloodshed before we get to the end of this. No deaths, but there will be blood.
Oh, I guess I'm just built different. If it were me, if I'm hurling the ball, am I the bowler, right?
Yes.
Or is the okay?
Yeah.
If it were up to me, Braz and I would be the deadliest cricket team ever formed.
I believe this, to be honest.
Not good. Notice I didn't say good team. Notice I said deadliest.
You would be a sort of West Indies team from the 70s or 80s, but I'll get to them later on.
We're gonna murder someone and steal the ashes.
Yeah.
I mean, people have been killed in cricket games, and again, not in this, but it's if you see the batsmen here, you see that they have big pads over their legs and helmets, and the reason why is because a cricket ball is like it's a hard object. It's harder than a baseball, made of cork and leather. And a good pace bowler can get that well into the 90s of miles an hour.
It's like getting drilled with a highlight ball.
Yeah, it's got to bounce off of the pitch, but like if it hits you, it can still kill you. So something to be sort of like aware of at bat is the idea that this is a very it's a sort of small, very hard projectile coming towards you, and you have very little reaction time from a fast bowler. I think there's been like sort of interesting studies of the neurology of cricket batsmen, and there's a kind of a thing that you see in baseball as well, where they're reacting before your reaction time is supposed to kick in, where it's just sort of like working on instinct or like training or whatever.
Sure.
But so cricket is like it's a longer played, more strategic baseball, kind of.
How can anything be goddamn longer than baseball?
Yeah, I was about to say, I hear these stories about like he got 203 runs because someone threw the ball on a tree.
Well, it's because there are different kinds of cricket, but cricket matches can last days potentially, and every attempt to make cricket more marketable has been to try and compress that down so you can fit it into one day, and it's always been a struggle. Essentially, what needs to happen is that every sort of bowler needs to make like 6 legal throws at each batsman, unless they get them out first, and that takes a long time. When they do all of that, one direction or another, that's an innings. Then you have 2 innings each side. That's a test match. We'll get there. But the point of this is that it takes for fucking ever. It's a very long game.
Yes.
Yeah, I've played Commander Magic the Gathering. I get it.
So there are different kinds of cricket. This is the one that we're going to be talking about, is the one that takes forever. The clothes are white, the ball is red. It's called Test cricket. It's the most.
This is the premier one, right? Like the most famous version.
Yeah, it's the most trad and the most prestigious. And this is going to be the one that we're talking about today. But
it doesn't sound like it's necessarily the best. It sounds like it's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like it's kind of apples and oranges to compare. A lot of it is sort of like, for instance, the most recent Ashes was absolutely riveting to watch, but in a way that required you to keep in your head what had happened over the past like month. Compare and contrast. Next slide, please.
Okay, Milkshake has left my face, so I can do this.
Thank you, Milkshake.
Thank you, Milkshake.
The attempts to try and make cricket watchable, which are generally referred to as limited overs cricket. And an over is like the 6 legal balls thrown at a batsman. By changing the number of overs, you can get like a much faster and more exciting game. This is wildly popular. Like, genuinely, as much as I think of Americans as being chauvinists for calling baseball the World Series when they're the only ones in the world who play baseball.
No.
Could have one Japanese team.
I think it would be honestly
one Japanese team at the MLB.
It would be fucking rad if we did it how Little League does, where it's one American team and one international team.
Mm-hmm.
Be absolutely fucking rad. to get our asses absolutely blown off by some Dominicans.
We get the doors blown on us by Hokkaido.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
this
some
was
dude with an unpronounceable, to me at least, name throwing 109 mile an hour fuel. Yeah.
This is genuinely, it's been a thing in cricket where you've had like an England 11 against a rest of the world 11. Like you can do this.
They do that in the NBA All-Star game weekend.
Hell yeah. But yeah, so
just been like you like a big titty anime girl just does 3 home runs,
I would, yeah, it's hentai league of their own. You'd watch that. Shut up.
It's all baseball episodes.
Yeah, so, you paid us for this, you stupid fucks.
That's true. So I'm going to put a marker down here, which is if you don't either know or care about cricket, you are racist. Because in terms of
I already follow like 5 sports, Alice.
You should
6.
pick up another one because the thing is,
number 6 is right here.
of the sort of sports of the world by number of people who are invested in them, cricket is definitely up there. Yeah, because of us, because of British people, because we did imperialism and we did a colonialism and we did a no growth, and now everywhere
you infected the gallant Indian people with
exactly. Now everywhere from like Barbados to Bangladesh is very into cricket, and they get very, very excited about it as we do. I've said here in the notes that if you were ranking loudest sporting events in the world by crowd noise, it would be like at the top. Some like South American football team,
right? Coming out to Stadium Azteca and just hearing like your name, chanted by 90,000 fucking people.
Yeah, Stadio Azteca or like El Maracana or something. It's like 2 crosstown teams in a South American country. The match is called like El Hyper Mega Super Classico. All of the stands, like everybody's ears are bleeding from how loud it is with everybody singing. That's number 1. Number 2 is like the Super Bowl or whatever, I guess. And then number 3 is a sort of like middle ranking IPL match between 2 relatively small Indian cities who both have teams named the Super Giant Mega Kings.
That fucking rules.
Yeah.
That's the best part of like, for me, college football is like these teams that like only these cities and kind of like areas of a certain state care about, but they'll like ride or die for them.
Yeah. Although it kind of
no one even knows what there's named for. Their mascot is Goku.
Yeah, the Super Knights, whatever. But like, the funny thing is, or the humbling thing is that you look this up on Wikipedia and you're like, oh, this city that I've never heard of has a higher population than New York City. Maybe they have a good reason to be sort of like this big of a deal.
What the fuck is Chandigarh?
Yeah. Where is Chennai?
Yeah.
So limited overs cricket is by far the more exciting form to watch. The players wear colours. The ball is white rather than red, so it shows up better on TV. You can play it under floodlights because it kind of tends to go into the night. It's a lot of fun. And you're sleeping on it because you're racist. Now, like any successful sport, this is also a huge nexus of corruption and exploitation. Weirdly often including the players. There's a ton of like bribery scandals and match fixing scandals and wire fraud scandals. It's like baseball back in the bad old days, right? Like you get into some Hansi Kronya shit. Like it happens.
But no one's ever been told by mystical voices to build a cricket field in their cornfield,
I mean,
you build it, they will come.
I'm fairly certain that the big Sur cricket stadium in Mumbai is there because the old colonial governor of Mumbai wanted to play cricket more than he wanted to be governor of Mumbai. So maybe there is some Field of Dream shit happening after all. But yeah, so Test cricket is like boring and staid and respectable, and then limited overs cricket in its various forms is you come out and like 1 trillion people are screaming your name. It's a good time. I mention this for 2 reasons. 1, general context, and to call all of the viewers racist, right? But too, because
Right. Yes. We have to denigrate the people who pay us money.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. But second of all, because we're going to
This
spend
is
the
sort of a
whole
Findom situation.
That's
Don't.
right.
We could have made it this whole episode without getting into
Yeah,
Findom.
the
It
last the
comes
last
up a
slide
lot.
is like a very high resolution photo of my feet. Um,
No,
I
it's
meant
it's it's Roz's feet.
yeah, that's what
You
the
don't
people
want to
really
see that.
want. Yeah.
I've
You don't
seen
want
your
to see
feet. They're
that.
not that bad.
I mentioned this because we're going to spend the whole rest of the episode talking about Test cricket, and I don't want people to get the impression that that's what cricket is exclusively. Um, to be honest, it's like less and less relevant every year.
Mm.
And it's this thing where it monopolizes a lot of the
Does it
discourse around cricket, but it
does
shouldn't.
it does it monopolize sort of the prestige? You were saying
Yes,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
100%. I mean, even within these countries, like the Indian Test cricket team or the Pakistani Test cricket team, but essentially, Test cricket is kind of shrinking and turning into a corn cob before our very eyes. That's
So
that's
are
a
you
sort of
are you,
like
are you saying Test cricket? Please ignore.
yeah, very much. Yeah, I mean, this in itself is like a controversial thing, but like, yeah, that's my contention here is that like, pay more attention to limited overs cricket. If you don't, you're racist. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Okie
Uh,
dokie.
Does the
right.
athletic cover cricket? Let's find out.
Should do. So there's this idea, and I think this is in common with a lot of sports, that back in the day, and there was a like back in the day, cricket used to be this nice gentlemanly sport where everybody wore top hats. Um,
As we see here, yes.
yes,
Yeah.
this here in the center is maybe the best Victorian cricketer of his age, W.G. Grace, Doctor W.G. Grace.
Is he the guy who wrote Richmond, north of Richmond?
Yes.
He was just sort of like a nice country doctor who incidentally was sort of like a cricket amateur and one of the best to do it because cricket again had this reputation of being a game for gentlemen amateurs who didn't need to get paid for it, who had independent means, and was this sort of game that existed in a spirit of like gentlemanly conduct, right? Like you still see this even amongst like more trad cricket people that like it. There's this idea of like when cricket was cricket, when it was also this is like eternal village green of good sportsmanship and stuff.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Way back when you didn't have to be good at it,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
which admittedly I sympathize with.
Hmm. Next slide, please.
Roz
I
is really struggling on subbing in at right guard for the
Yeah.
I
So-
just want to do some really shitty golf. That's what I want to do. I want to be really.
We should
I want to have an
talk about
excuse
golf
to
at some point.
go. I want to have an excuse to go golfing and be really bad at it.
We should talk about like golf as a sport or like the Masters or something. But yeah, so one thing I really want to emphasize at this point is that from the day that cricket was first formalized to today, all cricketers are cheating, whinging, venal hypocrites. Same as in a lot of other sports.
You ain't cheating. You ain't trying.
That's
Yeah.
the damn truth. That's
If
the
you-
damn truth.
Yeah, but like both cheating and also being kind of like a giant hypocrite about it, and complaining that my opponents are cheating, but I'm not cheating. I'm harkening back to this 19th century idea of sportsmanship. I was gonna do a whole thing here about the Ashes and the Bairstow dismissal, and like essentially the short version is that like Australia played in a way that might be considered bad faith, but was not against the rules. And then we in England lost our entire shit about this. And the mask really slipped for a minute. Like we have a lot of sort of very, very well heeled members of the MCC, which is sort of like our a cricket administration and also like sort of luxury club who one of them managed to like racially abuse one of the Australian players who wasn't even involved in this. It's just really like ill-tempered all round, and I that kind of speaks to the point that I want to make here, which is that there is a loss of ill temper in cricket. It is often very poorly concealed, and there's this kind of there is a fig leaf of sportsmanship that as often as not is purely fictive.
Sure.
I also want to say this is just because this is a fun story. Um, so the object of cricket when you're batting is to like keep the ball from knocking these horizontal bails over these vertical stumps to keep them from like knock it off. And you do this with this bat that you see here with the sort of like normal width. Um, on September
Right.
23rd, 1771, which is like way back in the early days of cricket, a
Mhm.
batsman called Thomas Daddy White came out to bat for Surrey with a bat as wide as the wicket itself,
I
like a
like
sort of
it.
like
I like
foot
that.
wide bat, on the basis that like there's no law against it. What are you gonna do?
Nothing says a dog can't play basketball.
Show me the
Exactly.
rules.
Exactly. Cricketers love two things in this world: playing cricket in incredibly bad faith and complaining about their opponents doing that and how that's ruining this sort of like mythical thing of the spirit of the game.
Which has not been true since Napoleon conquered
It's
Europe.
never been true. It's literally never been true. In the 18th
Right.
century, it wasn't true. Uh,
Wait, did we establish this? What the fuck is cricket?
cricket
ca-
is it's
wide
narrow
baseball,
baseball.
narrow
It's narrow
baseball,
baseball.
Narrow
Narrow
baseball.
baseball.
Okay, yeah.
Narrow circular
Hang on.
baseball.
I'm going to be 5 seconds, but this is really interesting. So I just need to turn my office light on. 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah. No worries.
We
Next
never
slide,
saw
please.
Liam again.
Yeah. So we now descend into our narrative as best I can remember it. I put in very sparse notes in the slides.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome
Okay.
back. So to set the scene, it is now the early 1930s.
Okay.
And
What
if
happened to
you
the last 160 years?
don't worry about it. They played a lot of cricket. It was more or less boring. You can write it in the comments to get mad
So
at
the
me.
1930s. So we have rescued you from Passchendaele.
Yes,
It's the early
yeah.
1930s. I'm going to go and make a bunch of stock market bets. I think will play out actually.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You
Main
could
case
get-
is the wide bat controversy. Oh, that's terrific.
Actually, I'm going to go kill Hitler. I don't know what the hell the rest of you are doing. I'm going to go kill Hitler.
You're gonna kill Hitler. You're gonna make some
I like
some
I
stock
like you
market
implying
bets.
that I, the Jewish member of this podcast, would not
No,
would
because
not
you
kill
don't care
Hitler.
enough about Hitler. You're too busy like making stock market bets.
Yeah.
That's the sort of like anti-Semitic canard of this podcast.
At least I'm going to kill Hitler. I don't
Well, at
don't
least
give a
one-
shit
so-
about
so,
anything.
So long as one of us kills Hitler, you know, maybe like who else are we in the 1930s? I could kill like Juan Perón or something like
Yep.
Alfredo Stroessner. There's got to be people who are alive in the 30s beside Hitler. I mean, probably other Nazis. You could go and kill like Reinhard Heydrich or whatever.
Well, this is probably
he's
like
gonna
a
get
multiple.
got in a couple of years.
Honestly, this is probably a multiple person operation. We could all go kill Hitler.
Yeah.
Operation
Yeah.
Anthropoid 2.
Yeah.
Or you just kind of Kaiserreich it and you go like the causes of Nazism are like more
just searched-
approximately the loss of the First World War. So therefore we gotta like intervene to make sure Germany wins it.
No, I'm just gonna kill Hitler.
Okay.
I actually,
We're
honest
doing
to
the
God,
simple solution
was
here.
making sure that Anthropoid was the name, and honest to
It
God,
is,
in
yeah.
Google, I searched Anthropoid 2.
Yeah, the sequel where they kill Heydrich too. I actually highly recommend the movie Anthropoid is
Anthropoid
okay.
is pretty good.
I recommend the novel HHHH.
Did you ever see Operation Daybreak?
Remind me?
Which is
I'm not
about
sure.
Anthropoid. It's very good.
Who's in it?
Oh God, no one.
Okay, no, I
Timothy
didn't.
Bottoms, Martin Shaw. Does that do anything for you?
No.
Joss Ackland, anyone?
Bottoms seldom do
No.
anything for me.
God damn it, Al.
So it's the 1930s. It's
Yes.
1930s.
The 1930s.
After the
We
First
were
World War,
attempting to kill Hitler.
before the First World War.
Yeah.
And this is the other thing. If you look at W.G. Grace way back 2 slides ago on slide 4, two things about him. He lived in like olden times, and he was also like very, very fat and unhealthy, which is quite funny for someone who like runs up and down sort of like on an amateur basis.
Who is an athlete?
Yeah, exactly. And this was true of like most cricketers.
This is much like professional bowling.
Yeah, most of the best old cricketers have died of old age, all of their replacements have been killed in the First World War. Um, because cricket and the public schools and the army are very closely sort of like linked together as the sites of social reproduction of like masculinity, right? And so, as we see here on this war memorial, all of these guys from Worcestershire County Cricket Club all joined up and they all got killed. Um,
Yes.
this is sort of like very personally apparent to me because I went to an English public school, um, which had a lot of like war memorials and which also had a lot of cricket sort of like honor rolls, very closely coterminous. Um,
Hmm.
so, all of this having been said,
None of them managed to hit Hitler over the head with the big cricket bat.
no, World War One,
Yeah.
they didn't manage to hit the
Oh,
Kaiser
I
over the
see.
head with a cricket bat.
God
Oh,
damn
World War
it,
Two
I see.
hasn't happened
Well,
yet.
that's because he's got a spike on the helmet. You can't really do that.
Yeah, he's just sort of like,
Yeah.
fending them off with the big Pickelhaube.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, this is sort of like a general theme, right? Is that like, the 19th century was sort of prelapsarian and nice, and everybody was playing cricket, and then everybody sort of like then industrialization happened, and everyone had to walk into the machine guns, and niceness was
Yes.
over. This is sort of a false narrative for reasons we've explored elsewhere, and we'll probably
Sure.
explore again. But it persists in cricket. So, this being the 1930s, I now have to tell you a story about two men. Next slide, please.
So World War One was the first war that wasn't cricket.
That's true. Genuinely,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will have a quote about things not being cricket later on. So this is Don Bradman, and Don Bradman is one of the all-time Australians to ever Australia.
Mhm.
I
Veteran of
should,
the Emu Wars.
yeah, exactly. I should be
He
a bit
built
careful.
the wall to keep the rabbits out.
It didn't go so
Yeah.
well.
I should be a bit careful about Don Bradman because, like, as much as
Drank
there are
5 yards of ale.
as much as there are controversies about him, he was like almost certainly Australia's first celebrity.
But he was cricket.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. He was probably like one of the best batsmen, particularly of his age. And to this day, Australians love this guy. He's like uh completely self-taught from the middle of nowhere, some like cattle station or whatever in like New South Wales. The myth is like grows up playing cricket with like a stump or whatever. And he just like rises meteorically because he's really fucking good at cricket. Um, he is the good guy in this story, which is kind of a shame given that like he was not always the good guy in real life.
Oh.
He
Wow.
was. I don't mean to cancel him, right? Like he did some good things even in later life. Like he was single-handedly responsible for maintaining Australian cricket's boycott of apartheid South Africa.
Nice.
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah.
he was
People are a land of contrast.
he was not racist. He may have been engaged in a kind of like cult/MLM at times.
Happens to the best of us. No big deal.
Yeah,
I
he
was
might
about
have
to
been
say.
like very difficult to get along with. But he was a great cricketer and he was not racist. And
He was difficult to get along with because the people he was trying to get along with were Australian.
Yeah, I assume this guy did his level best.
What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
That's just casually the most racist thing I've ever heard in my life. All right, let's do this.
So Don Bradman is like Australia's secret weapon. I have a quote from London's News Chronicle. As long as Australia has Bradman, she will be invincible. It is almost time to request a legal limit on the number of runs he should be allowed to make. He's a really good batsman.
I don't want to be mean to the No, that's not true. I love being mean
please
to the British.
be mean.
That's
Be
fucking
mean.
embarrassing.
It is.
Oh, he's too good. What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, calling the cops on the haters.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, but are you gonna say what's
so-
cricket again?
Mhm.
Well, I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to say something which is basically the same, which is
Yeah, but
how do you score a run in cricket?
Okay, so right, if the ball is bowled towards you, you hit the ball.
Okay.
There is a boundary around the outside of the sort of like big circular cricket ground, right?
Right.
If it hits that, you get 4 runs automatically. If it goes over it like a home run, you get 6 runs automatically. Otherwise, it's you hit it and it's however many times you and the other guy with a bat on the like opposite base can run back and forth before you know it gets the ball gets back and you know you get threatened with being out.
Oh, I see. So they have to like hit you with the ball, or like how does
Yeah,
that work?
you have to knock the horizontal bales off of the vertical stumps you see behind our boy here.
This
Um,
this thing here. Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. That's
Okay. Yeah.
that thing together is called a wicket. That's what a
Oh,
run is.
I always
Um,
wondered what a wicket was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
I,
sometimes used idiomatically for like the whole pitch. So like if the pitch is like wet and drying, that's a sticky wicket, which is also sort of like metaphorically something that's difficult. But that's what a wicket is. Um
okay, I've learned a lot today.
yeah,
Thank
this is
God.
the promise.
You're gonna
So
learn
very
whether or not you want to. Yeah.
very
I'm gonna get I'm gonna
educational.
get I'm gonna get black bagged by the CIA when this is done.
You're not gonna get black bagged by the CIA.
So
If anything, you'll be useful. You could be an intelligence analyst or whatever.
yeah. So
Oh yeah,
so
it's like I know a little bit about cricket. Well,
yeah,
that's a
you're
lot
gonna be
better
like
than most
posted to the
people.
embassy in London. The way that
No,
Test
no,
cricket
maybe in
works.
India. I think India would be more fun.
Yeah. The way that Test cricket works is the team goes on sort of like a tour. It plays probably some ancillary matches against like other teams, and then it plays a series of tests. And then you know it's scored like a tournament essentially. You know, you play 5 test matches, and you know a best of 3 wins kind of thing. Um, and uh, so Australia sends a team to the UK in 1930 with Don Bradman in it, and he whips our asses. He's really fucking good. Is the problem? And this becomes a sort of like national level crisis. Next slide, please. So, this alarming looking man on the left, two alarming looking men on this slide. Um, this alarming looking man on the left is Plum Warner, Sir Pelham Warner, if you're nasty. Um, he he's the chairman of the MCC, which is selects at this point the England cricket team, and he's like de facto he's the England manager. He goes, all right, we got to do something about this guy. Get me our weirdest, fruitiest, most alienatingest looking man. I mean, a real Star Wars Imperial officer looking motherfucker.
Like a real strange guy. Like give me the
Yeah.
weirdest guy.
Yeah, give me the weirdest guy. And the weirdest
The parts
guy.
department, yes.
Yeah, the guy from the parts department is on the right here, Douglas Jardine. The one with the sort of like fruity looking neckerchief on.
Yes.
And as much as we talked about Don Bradman being sort of like difficult to get along with, Douglas Jardine is like way more oppositional personally. Like, to be honest, this is not a controversial point of view. He's the like historical loser of this story. This guy's a piece of shit. Like genuinely, like really unpleasant. Um, there's this he's like alienating to his friends, he's alienating to his teammates, like I'll get to this on the next slide, but he has a real thing about Australians. There's
He's racist against Australia.
Here's
Yeah,
a real thing
genuinely.
against
That's
Australians.
really
It's
hard
such a
to
weird
do. That's
sentence
really
to
hard
say.
to do.
Genuinely, yes. There's this other cricketer at the time, Rockley Wilson, who when they announced that he's going to be captain of the England team that goes to Australia, that we're going to win the Ashes and lose a Dominion, right? Like Australia are
This
going
is
to be
how radioactive this guy is.
yeah. Australia are going to be so pissed off at this they're going to like leave the Commonwealth. So, next slide, please. I'm going to explain the reason why this guy's racist against Australians, and it has to do with this like foolish hat.
This is a fun hat. I like it.
Yeah,
Harlequin, yeah.
So Jardine has like played in Australia before. He doesn't get along with Australians, because in Australia there's this tradition of the crowds kind of like yell at you a little bit, and the other players kind of like make fun of you a little bit. And in particular, they really zero in on this hat. This
But
is
this
a
guy could just take none of it.
no, not at all.
Embarrassing.
This is a Harlequins cap. Harlequins is like it's like an Oxford University alumni cricket club. He wears this all the time and has no sense of humor about it. And so when when he runs into like a single Australian man making fun of his like propeller
He breaks
hats,
down in some sort of yes.
I got the little
yes,
propeller hat. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like real like Aristo stuff. Like I am gonna wear my jester hat, and if you make fun of me at all, I'm gonna cry. Um,
Of course.
he's like really has this like aristocratic bearing as well, which is really sort of like David and Goliath to the Australians
I'm
because
gonna
like
gonna call the principal about this. You know.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
You know,
Like
it's not like I'm gonna beat you up. It's like I'm gonna call the principal.
I'm gonna get you in so much trouble.
yeah, exactly. And so all of the Australian players that they really sort of like to fate, like, you know, grew up doing this, you know, throwing sort of cricket ball shaped hunks of shit at each other or whatever. And then this guy shows up with his fool's hat. And it's really sort of night and day. There's one sort of like comment from the stands, which is, "Where's the butler to carry the bat for you?" Um, so So Jordan, he picks three uh fast bowlers. I'll get into this in a minute, but if we go to next slide, um, there's that he picks three. This is the best of them. Harold Larwood, who ends up being sort of like the unwilling villain of this story, along with Bill Vose and Gubby Allen. Cricketers were called shit like Gubby Allen back then.
Oh sure.
And again, there's like
Why not? You know.
yeah, there's a class dynamic. Like Larwood used to be a miner. He like got into like Nottinghamshire Cricket Club. And this guy who looks like he should be having a butler carry shit around for him is gonna tell him what to do, right? Um, the two sort of like styles of bowling in cricket are there's spin bowling and there's pace bowling, right? Spin bowling is you make the ball do something weird, like you know, like baseball. You have like a curveball or whatever, because it has to
Yeah.
bounce off the thing. It's gonna like go in some weird directions. Pace bowling is you just fucking throw the thing as fast as you can, which, as we've established, is pretty fucking fast, like 90, 100 miles an hour. And you know, you sort of try and beat the reaction time, essentially.
Right.
And
Right.
Larwood, Vos, and Allen are all pace bowlers. This is unusual in and of itself. You kind of ideally you want a mix. And what Jardin has done is gone, no, all speed, uh, no weird shit, just like all speed all the time.
But
Ne-
when you're bowling, does okay? So you got the big you got the bat.
Yeah.
When you're bowling, does it have to like hit the ground or like how does that
Yeah.
work?
You just have
Okay.
to, right.
Yeah,
At 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, it has to bounce off the pitch at 100 miles an hour and come up.
Fuck
So
no! It has to
Oh my
bounce.
God.
Fuck no!
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
I would
get into this in
instantly
a
be
moment,
killed.
Yeah,
I would
me too,
instantly
dude. And
be
I
killed.
played sports.
but- yeah. So a cricket ball, if you're batting, the ball is like
just me and Ross
rising.
hiding behind the wickets. Like if we duck low enough, they can't see us.
So next slide, please. So this is a little diagram. This is what you're seeing if you're like bowling, right? Is you're running towards you, you're gonna like bowl overarm and bounce the thing off the thing, and it's gonna go up
Mhm.
towards the batter. And generally speaking, right, there are sort of like theories, as they're called at the time, what you would now, I guess, call like cricket strategy or whatever, for how to bowl against certain hitters. And in this case, what Jardin settles on is something called leg theory. You see the leg
Okay.
side, that's the one that the guy's standing on. And if you bowl leg theory, what you're doing is you're like, the ball's coming towards them on the leg side rather than the off side on this diagram here. So it's coming like at their body rather than at the bat.
Oh.
It's like it's legal, it's perfectly legal. And you know, a good batsman can like get to that too. But what it does is it gives you less space to maneuver. It kind of like boxes you in. Crowds don't like it because it's really boring to watch.
Right.
What you want to be doing if you want to entertain people is you want to bowl on the offside because then you can get like big hits, and it's a challenge for fielders, but like you play exciting and it's fun to watch. If you have someone like Don Bradman who's very good at hitting, then you want them to not do that, and so you just kind of throw the ball in a way that's difficult for them to get to.
Sure.
It's winning ugly, but it's not even particularly controversial. It's like perfectly legitimate to sort of like challenge them in that way, right?
Sure.
Right.
Now, Jordan adds 2 refinements to this. Refinement number 1, next slide, please, is something we've spoken about earlier, which is fast bowling. Again, the two genders of bowling,
I
fast
simply
bowling.
assassinate my opponents. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
simply kill them instantly.
This is the West Indian bowler Sir Curtly Ambrose here, one of the fastest and most terrifying to do it. Cricket balls are hard. You can throw them very fast, even after they've bounced. They're still coming at you very, very quickly. This is fucking terrifying. Like, if you've never had a cricket ball bowled at you at pace, I recommend it as a sort of like salutary experience, right? Because it really makes you aware of how slow your own reaction time is.
It's kind of like it's just like it's like how if you work for the Japanese Shinkansen,
Mhm.
they make you lie in the tunnel while 2 trains go past at 180 miles an hour.
Do they actually do that?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's like
I think they actually stopped doing that recently because it gave people PTSD.
This is a lot like the the company that makes tasers, Axon, is like in a weird sort of cult where they really, really want you to get tased in front of all your
I
coworkers.
just saw that today, and you know what? I support it. I think that if you make tasers, you got to get tased. I'm
That's
sorry.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So you can see here the
You
batsman sort of
can't
like,
do that with guns because then you die. But with
that's
tasers,
true. You can do this
most
sort
of
of
the
like
time you don't die.
Jigen, like tir de confiance or whatever, where you get like shot in the chest wearing a bulletproof vest or whatever, and you're like,
Yeah.
This is fine. So speaking
Bullets,
of
fine, don't care. Don't give
Yeah,
a shit.
No.
speaking of confidence, you see here the batsman sort of like leaping out of the way of this one.
Right.
The
This looks
point,
like it might be unpleasant.
All right,
yeah,
that is
the point of pace bowling is to be intimidating in part.
Oh,
Like
sure.
it's partly it's a challenge on the reflexes, and partly you can do this if you have like if you want to play this as a game of psychological warfare, which you can absolutely play a game of cricket as. Then you can sort of like do it to break down a batsman psychologically, where they're just sort of like ducking under things and dodging out of the way of things, in a way that's sort of like it's intended to be threatening, if you like. If you go to the next slide, though,
yes.
let's talk about delivery lengths. So we know a cricket delivery has to bounce, and where it bounces on the pitch determines where it's going to get to the batsman, right? And you can be quite tactical about this. If you do a sort of like a good length in the middle, it gets to them sort of around where the bat is, and you can get some good runs off of that. You can get a good hit off of that. If you want to do like a full length that comes up very, very low, which is like really fucking annoying. There's a term for this in cricket. It's called a Yorker. If the ball comes in like really, really low, you can't quite sort of get to it, and it's one of those things that's like unsatisfying to watch. The other option is if you bounce it earlier, if you bounce it short, get what's sometimes called a bouncer, and that's the real terror, right? Is it's coming at your head. And particularly if it's bowled on the leg side, it is coming literally directly at your head.
Oh, don't love that.
No.
Is there like an equivalent to a ball? In cricket here, where like you can't, you have to, if you're pitching, if you're bowling, you have to get it within a certain box for it to be
Sure.
considered valid.
Yeah,
I suppose, can you
if
not just
it's
throw it wild? Is it a foul to dome a guy?
yes, in the sense of like if you well now if you sort of do it intentionally, or also if you just like don't bounce it, if you just fucking aim it at a guy's head. Um, there is also a like if you throw the thing wide, that gives them runs for free. But this in
Oh, okay.
itself,
So it's much more of a penalty than it is in baseball.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's sort of like this is a legal delivery, right? As a batsman, you're expected to be able to deal with, or at least cope with, the idea of a cricket ball coming at your head upwards at 95 miles an hour.
Oh boy.
Um, and there are two ways to do this. You can sort of like do this defensively, which is just you just duck, right? You just get under it. Um, or you can try and like kind of like hit it away and play it aggressively, and that can be very rewarding, but it's risky, right?
Sure.
And this is why now they give you a helmet, is because if you get hit in the face with a cricket ball going 95 miles an hour, it's very bad for you.
Yes.
But mostly it's just about the threat. Like even if you hit it, you're still kind of meant to flinch a bit, right? And this sort of nebulous idea of cricket sportsmanship and like the spirit of cricket really comes into play here, because it's sort of considered legal but bad form to be doing this all the time. It's sort of like fair play if it's against a batsman who is like who really knows what they're doing. But like if it's someone who's just like on their turn at bat, who is like primarily a bowler or whatever, it's sort of like antagonistic, let's say.
Right. You're not supposed to. You're not
Right.
supposed to do it to someone who isn't in the business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is Jardin's innovation, is what he calls fast leg theory, which on the description sounds innocuous enough, right? Sounds perfectly legitimate because it sort of implies that you're going to be bowling at like, you're going to sort of like make Don Bradman flinch a bit.
Sure.
What this actually means in practice is you're just going to be bouncing cricket balls at people's heads at the fastest possible speed you can achieve, and just do that all day.
Just like fucking murder people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Next slide, please. We have a sort of a shot of fast leg theory in action. So they go to Australia on this tour, which is 1932 to 33, and Jardin already hates Australians. We've established
Why?
this.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
Which fair enough, but
He's already like telling his team, first of all, you have to bowl the way that I want. You have to bowl like very fast, very short on the leg side. And
I
second of
hate
all,
Australians, but for the wrong reasons.
right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
And you have to like particularly target Donald Bradman, who he calls exclusively the little bastard. And so they run this on the first couple of games, and it's sort of they sort of it takes a while for them to dial this in. There's sort of a diluted form of it, first of all, and it's sort of like unexpected, but it's sort of like perceived by the Australians at this time and the Australian like spectators and press as being legitimately challenging, right? To be like, oh, they're bowling well, they're doing something interesting here. And as they intensify it, the Australian batsmen seem more and more uncomfortable, and they start having to sort of like duck and weave because these balls are coming at them. And it's quite sort of concerning as the sort of like early matches go on.
Mhm.
I should say the fielding for this as well is such that it's designed explicitly to take advantage of this. So you just have this crowd of fielders on the leg side, so it's sort of like very obviously intentional, because what you're expecting them to do is you're expecting this ball to come in, them to sort of like panic and like hit it over to the leg side, and then one of the like 50 guys all lined up in a sort of like Agent Smith like wall are just going to catch it instantly. it's like really gratuitously bad faith, apart from anything else. Um, and it works quite well, and it kind of it worries the Australians, in particular Harold Larwood, who we see bowling here. He's like the best fast bowler on the England team. Is like very effective with this. Um, so we continue with this for the first two test matches, and it's sort of like the Australians don't really retaliate with this. Um, there's this discord in the England team as well. Gubby Allen, the sort of the third fast bowler, does not want any part of this, and he refuses to bowl this way. Um, and as a result, he just gets totally sidelined. One of the other England players, the Nawab of Pataudi, because we still have Indian aristocrats in the England team at this point. He refuses to like go and field this way. And Jardine, who is again a gigantic piece of shit to everyone around him, he's quoted as being like, "I see His Highness as a conscientious objector," and just fucking ends his career. Like, genuinely, it's just like, no, you don't get to do this shit anymore. There is like one way to play cricket here, which is this fast leg theory. So if we now then go to the next slide, we're going to talk about the third test match that they play. And Bodyline is now full in effect. We're bowling against the Australian captain, Bill Woodfull, and it begins to get unpleasant, not least because Larwood bowls against him, the ball comes up, and it just fucking hits him in the heart. It like hits him like straight up in the chest. You can see this photo is like sort of like a couple of seconds afterwards where he has just like dropped the bat and just is like in like agony.
Right.
And we keep
Legal.
Yeah,
Legal.
it's legal. It's
No foul, no harm, no foul. Well, harm, but no foul.
Yeah.
It just like hits him straight in the thing. His batting partner is Don Bradman, who's like watching this from the other end, and in an attempt to unnerve him, Jardine sort of like very loudly calls to Larwood, "Well bowled, Harold," as this guy has just like had his chest
just ripped open like an alien. Yeah.
So he
Had
just
a
about
ball go straight through his chest.
Yeah, just
Mhm.
like
There's just
Revolutionary
a
War
hole in
cannon
his
fire.
stomach,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. So the over is ended, and like Alan, the bowler who like does not want to bowl Bodyline, is up next. And sort of Bill Woodfull, the guy who's just been hit in the heart, like gets himself back into position for this. And Jardine moves all of his fielders back into these like close in leg side Bodyline positions, and this almost starts a riot. Like immediately, because all of the Australians are like they're gonna fucking kill this guy. There's this feeling amongst some members of the England team of like, what are we gonna do if they just storm the pitch at this point? One of them like has this sort
You know
of
what happens is you
recollection.
win the Ashes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, one of them has
At
this
what
recollection of just like,
cost?
if they like try and storm the pitch, I'm just gonna like grab a stump out of the wicket and just start hitting people with it. So,
Oh wow, the bad conduct by the Australian fans means that we win the Ashes today. I'm sorry.
yeah, and I mean they've been sort of like bowling this way for 2 months, and it's really sort of like culminated in this. They keep bowling at him like another one of the deliveries like genuinely like knocks the bat out of his hands. And he's out there for like fully like an hour and a half, just getting like pelted with cricket
Oh
balls
Jesus.
before he's finally out. And so this leads to something called the Adelaide leak. So
Leak or league?
leak.
Okay.
Media leaks are like basically unheard of at this time, especially in
Right.
cricket. But Pelham Warner, the guy we saw earlier, the alarmingly bald man who's chairman of the MCC and who's like sort of manager of England at this point, he goes to the Australian dressing room after Bill Woodfull is like finally out, and he goes to like sort of apologize to him, and Woodfull, who is like not at all sort of like an angry man, is sort of described as being sort of like very quiet, and he's being like sort of like quietly outraged. And he tells Warner, like, there's one team out there that's trying to play cricket and one that isn't. And this somehow immediately
Like,
gets
I
to the
really
press.
don't want to be mad.
Yeah.
But I have to be
I
mad
don't want
right
to be
now.
mad, but I have been hit with like several cricket balls, and I'm trying not to take it personally.
Yeah.
And Warner's kind of
I
like
have to be mad right now. I'm sorry.
yeah. He's kind of like non-committal about this, but this immediately makes the papers. And it's this immense controversy within the Australian team as to who leaked this fucking thing. There are sort of two suspects here. Bradman is one. The other is a guy called Jack Fingleton, who was also like he played for Australia. He also got to write about it for a newspaper because he had like special permission to do that. To their dying days, both of them were accusing the other. And this is like really genuinely mean-spirited sort of like acrimony, because this is not the kind of thing that's supposed to get to the press at all, and it does. And it really sort of like it really ruins the sort of like accord between them. But yeah, so Warner hears this. He's later like found in tears in his hotel room, just because he had this idea, right? He's kind of like the cricket trad, um, and the big quote from him here is that to say that something is not cricket, to say that it's uncivilized, unsportsmanlike, still has meaning, because cricket is a game of like
Wow.
of civilization, and does this affect the progress of the tour? Not even slightly. They go back out the next day.
Outstanding work.
Obviously, yeah.
And next slide, please. On the first innings, Bert Oldfield, this Australian pitcher, gets hit in the head, and it fractures his fucking skull.
Holy shit!
Jesus.
He gets hit in the temple
Fuck, dude.
by a cricket ball.
Is this him just holding what,
Yes.
trying to prevent the leaks? The
Yes.
Adelaide leaks,
Yeah.
if you will?
Yeah, it's like I guess it's a brain fluid leaking out. That's where I know. That's where all my knowledge is.
Yeah, he like tries to play it like sort of as you should, as like aggressively, where you try and like come in under it and hook it, and it did like loses track of it, and it hits him in the side of the fucking head, and once again this like very nearly starts a riot, and
Man, they love doing it, huh?
yeah, genuinely. But in both cases, like Jardin is absolutely unrepentant. He's sort of like in the first case, he's like, well, if you didn't want to get hit with more cricket balls, you could have retired hurt. In this case, he's like, well, it's your own fault, essentially. And just play continues as this guy is sort of like helped back to the dressing room.
Jesus Christ.
I
What is
mean,
going on with this guy here?
which
He looks like
Australian. That's Colonel Sanders, dude.
no, he looks like the most blackface stereotype person imaginable. That might just be the lighting, but like
until a few years ago.
I believe that is the lighting. Yeah, that's an umpire. They're like referees.
The funny hat. I do like the hat.
Yeah, they wear the funny hats and blazers. And as you can see, he has his hands on his hips because, as far as they're concerned, this is all legal play.
What the fuck, dude?
There is no law that says that you can't fracture a dude's skull, and he doesn't even have a helmet. He has a baggy green. He has a canvas hat on.
There's nothing in the rule book that says a dog can't kill someone in basketball.
Just a dog with a fucking RPG. This dog with a potato cannon. Yo, this dog has the arm of Matt Stafford. All right, you guys fucking ready? Derek Carr got nothing on this dog.
I should also say that Jarden does like sort of secretly send like a telegram of sympathy to this dude's wife, and he like has some like presents bought for his children as a sort of like sorry for fracturing your dad's skull.
Sorry, I fractured your dad's skull. By the way, what you doing tonight?
What the fuck?
He just really wanted to like cuck this guy's wife. Just like add insult to injury. I'll teach you to make fun of my hat. I'm gonna break your skull and then fuck your wife.
Yes. Yes. Let's do it. All right.
So this leads to like huge uproar in the crowd. All of the England team get hate mail. The press sort of like, well, the Australian press hate it. The England press, which is still sort of like at the remove of having to get this like described to them in text, still think this is like fast leg theory. They still think this is like normal, and the Australians are just being whiny little bitches about it. Yeah, 100%. But so
I will give it's hard to give the Australians anything, but they are generally not whiny little bitches.
No. There is a separate Australian cheating scandal which we never ever let them forget about, but this was like decades before it. This culminates in the Australian Board of Control, which is like the cricket regulatory authority, sending this telegram to the MCC, the sort of English equivalent, to be like, you got to stop doing this. I have it verbatim here. Bodyline bowling. It's called bodyline because it's like, on the line of the body. Bodyline bowling assumed such proportions as to menace best interests of game, making protection of body by batsmen the main consideration, causing intensely bitter feeling between players as well as injury, in our opinion, is unsportsmanlike, unless stopped at once, likely to upset friendly relations between Australia and England.
So they were really worried about international relations.
Yeah, genuinely, the Australians were like, this could like cause actual diplomatic tensions. Would you believe?
You could tell that they were unhappy because they didn't even call him a cunt.
Too familiar.
There actually is a story about this because one of the Australians calls Jarden a bastard in the course of this third test match, and Jarden goes to their dressing room afterwards to demand an apology.
No.
And, yeah, genuinely. And I think Woodfull is the one who says, "Which one of you bastards called this bastard a bastard?" So, great moments in Australian patriotism. But would you believe that we responded to this in a sort of like snotty and dismissive manner?
Yes, I would believe that.
I would probably believe that, yeah.
So we reply, I say we for England here, reply 5 days later. We, Marylebone Cricket Club, deplore your cable. We deprecate your opinion that there has been unsportsmanlike play. We have fullest confidence in captain, team, and managers, and are convinced they would do nothing to infringe either the laws of cricket or the spirit of the game. We have no evidence that our confidence is misplaced. Much as we regret accidents to Woodfull and Oldfield, we understand that in neither case was the bowler to blame.
Uh-huh.
If the Australian Board of Control wish to propose a new law or rule, it shall receive our careful consideration in due course. We hope the situation is not now as serious as your cable would seem to indicate, but if it is such as to jeopardize the good relations between English and Australian cricketers, and you would consider it desirable to cancel remainder of program, we would consent with great reluctance, which is sort of a threat. right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
and this escalates to the era, to the like sort of the arena of actual diplomatic threats, where the British ambassador, the British High Commissioner, has to explain, no, you can't do this. Like, if British people start boycotting Australian trade in this era of like protectionism,
Oh,
it just fucks the entire country. Like, so
what the hell are they going to do without their
the Tim
whatchamacallit?
Tams, yeah,
Yeah, the
the
Marmite.
Bundaberg, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Incredible levels of racism against indigenous people. Yes.
Exactly, and
well,
the Australians, we leave them with no choice but to blink. They have to send this other telegram that's like, we're sorry we said that you were being unsporting when you broke our guy's skull. Um, we we like consider you to be above reproach.
Thank you, Daddy.
So perhaps unsurprisingly, we like win the test 4-1. Next slide, please. I couldn't find a good image to depict Australian British hostilities. It was between this and like Hetalia. But yeah, we just blew it off. We fully didn't. We just went, no, we don't need to learn a lesson from this, and we just left the Australians to like seethe and cope. And this has been like, in terms of Australian sentiments that the Brits are trying to get them all killed, this is up there with Gallipoli still. Like, they made a TV miniseries of this with Hugo Weaving, which is about as mad as you can still be.
Oh wow.
well, you sent them all down there for a reason, am I right?
Guys.
It just really like this is like the kind of the original sin, right? This really establishes a lot of the Australian conception of like the English specifically, is like, no, we are like butler having, murder doing,
Rat bastards,
snobbish
right.
rat bastards. And sort of to an extent vice versa, that you know, even still, to like, you know, the line from this to like MCC members racially abusing Usman Khawaja is like, you know, that you can trace that. You know, we still kind of think that Australians are like cheating, whinging cunts, and part of it is because we've
They
never
are.
we've never really internalized that maybe it's kind of a fucked up thing to do, to try and like kill someone with a cricket ball.
Now, here in America, we're not allowed to say cunt. But
That's true. You get in trouble.
Yeah, it's just my mom yelling at you, but yes, you get in trouble.
Next slide, please. Bodyline, this sort of like style of bowling, it persists for about a year in England, where the press are still like, this isn't a real thing. Stop complaining. What are you, Australians? When Larwood and Vos go
only
back
Australians think this is not cricket, but
exactly,
it's cricket.
exactly.
Right.
When Larwood and Vos go back to Nottinghamshire, they play it as well. And ultimately, what happens is the next year, the West Indies cricket team, come to play in England. And if you're not familiar with cricket, the West Indies have always I mean, as much as I know it's problematic to, you know, try and say that like different countries or groups of countries play a different game of cricket, right? But like, prototypically, the West Indies have enjoyed a terrifying game of cricket. I mentioned sort of like playing cricket as a game of like psychological warfare. This is sort of like much the thing, and you know, particularly in the, you know, like 70s, 80s, 90s, West Indies had some of the best fast bowlers in the world, and it was, you know, sort of like not as bad as this, but it was along the same lines of like making people terrified. And so even in 1933, they play Bodyline against England. Jardine is still captain, and because he is a man of iron, he's like this is the thing about him, right? He's an awful cunt, but I also sort of respect him, um, because he sees what they're doing. He's like, I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm going to bat against this. And he makes a pretty good job of it. He's like remains resolutely unintimidated by sort of like a dose of his own medicine. I do have a note one description here. So England lose one Test match, 4 wickets for 134, including Hammond, who returned to bat after having his chin split open by a short-pitched ball.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, if Douglas Jardine got his way, this would be how cricket is still played. He did not give a fuck. But what happens is that, like, curiously, once it happens, to England from a team with black people in it, public opinion and the press kind of turn against it.
Oh my God, I don't think black people can do this.
Yeah, exactly. This is the first time in the English press that they describe Bodyline without putting it in scare quotes or like so-called Bodyline. Is as soon as it starts happening to England cricketers, um, and this results in sort of like an amendment, a new law of cricket, which is intended to stop direct attack bowling. You're not supposed to be killing people out there. You're not supposed to be fracturing people's skulls. Um, Next slide,
Well,
please.
like, I mean, this is
I just realized I
part of
accidentally
the
muted
game.
myself
Come
like an
on,
asshole.
come on,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
part
yeah.
of the game.
Yeah, and I will say this: this has not stopped batsmen from getting hit by balls. This has not stopped batsmen from getting hit by balls on purpose. It's absolutely a thing. You can see it happen, like pretty much routinely, like at least once a
I was gonna
year.
ask. Okay, so
Like
sometimes a guy's just gonna basically throw at your head.
yeah, absolutely. Like at some point,
Yeah.
like a bowler will like sort of lose patience and like bowl short on the leg side to a batsman to try and like hit them, and then 10 years after they retire, say, yeah, I lost my patience. I was like trying to hurt him, and I feel bad about it.
But that means you get to be on base, right? I don't understand.
No, there's bases, bud.
If you,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're hit by it, just suck it up.
Yeah,
Is the
exactly.
main thing.
You walk someone,
Yeah. But so yeah,
I played Mario baseball, which I assume is the
Mhm.
same as cricket.
So Bodyline essentially established England as being evil, right? It really genuinely
I don't know
damaged our
that was
national
the only thing that established England as being
amongst
evil.
white Australians. This
Yeah.
established England as being evil.
Oh, they were fine beforehand. Yeah. Well, they said it's there as prisoners, but but then they did then they didn't do cricket right.
Yeah. And I mean,
They sent me here because I stole a loaf of bread.
By a
They sent my
lonely
great grandfather here because I
prison
stole a loaf of bread.
so the way this all shakes out politically is they add this new law that says that you're not allowed to kill each other. Helen Warner,
Lame.
yeah,
Lame.
Warner just like 100% like 180 degrees it, and is it like starts vociferously condemning the team that he had sort of like refused to condemn on the tour, as being like intimidatory and being not cricket. And it ends Jardine's career. Larwood, the bowler who actually like hit the most people, is sort of like there's this doctrine at the time that like cricket then is even more hierarchical than it is now. Like a cricket team captain is sort of like your commanding officer essentially. And he's told that like if you want to play Test cricket again, you have to apologize. And he doesn't understand why he would have to essentially because
Sure.
he just did what he was told to do. And he doesn't do it, and it also ends his career internationally. Um, Don Bradman goes on to like another few decades to become an Australian legend. But on the England side, this is sort of like the team that consigns itself to the dustbin of history, and it's still this sort of like awkward sticking point where it's like, oh, remember that time that you tried to kill us in the 30s? Yeah, and you still get cricket as ill-tempered to this day, but mostly in sort of like flourishes. You don't have the kind of cold-bloodedness of a Douglas Jardine anymore, where you sort of set out on a tour with the intention that, like, no, I'm gonna physically and psychologically destroy these people. And yeah, that's my sort of my little bonus episode on Bodyline. I hope you enjoyed it. I delivered this quite drunk. If you have any complaints, any comments, any
we
doubts,
helped.
any sort of like, if you've identified any misunderstandings that I've expressed about cricket, please put them in the comments where I will not read them.
Let's say it's going to be between Alice, who understands cricket, and then two Americans who are constitutionally prevented from understanding.
Yeah, have
cricket.
you come out of this, like, what are your reactions to this? Have you come out of this with sort of like a greater degree of understanding of the ways in which British people are normal?
Yeah, you
No,
people are freaks.
I don't think I can say anything because I believe I will be black bagged if I say I understand cricket.
I think you want to be black bagged by the CIA. I think this is like a humiliation thing for you.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Spreading to like two of us now.
9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah.
And what are the other CIA things? No, I'm trying to. I can't even.
Gary Webb didn't kill himself.
Jade Helm.
You just saying Jade Helm. That's
Jade Helm. Yeah.
Fucking. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, because most of the things that was an inside job was actually an inside job, except 9/11.
9/11/73 was an inside job. We're gonna have to do that on 9/11 as another 9/11 episode. We've been holding that joke back, and then people get mad at me, and they're like, "Why aren't you going to talk about Allende and Pinochet?" And I'm like, "Because we were saving that joke up. We were charging it for 9/11."
You gotta do the thing. You gotta do the thing. Anyway, so I do not hear sirens in the distance. So I believe I have kept myself in such a way that I know enough about cricket to know how it works, but not enough that I am going to be black bagged.
Fantastic. Well done. Thank you, all of you, for subscribing to the Patreon. Please continue to do that because this is how I pay rent.
Yes.
I will do a better job on the next one that I write, rather than just like banging together like 20 slides with a line of notes each and just kind of winging it.
Yeah. Well, next one will be on Mount Everest. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah. Wait, will it be? I thought we were going to do that as a like mainline episode.
I might do that as a mainline episode.
Yeah, let's do that as a mainline episode. Our next one will be on whatever the fuck we feel like. Liam, I think it's your turn, even.
I think it is.
All right.
It hasn't been my turn in a long time.
Yeah, you don't.
Fine, it's your turn.
You don't get to pick anymore.
Exactly.
Nope. Fuck you.
We'll litigate this off the air. Thanks so much. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.